Now we're going to look at baseline dimensioning. Basically, baseline dimensioning is just linear dimensions, but instead of them being run together in a chain, they are staggered and all start at the same point. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this little rectangular plate with 3 holes in it, and we're going to use baseline dimensioning to dimension the overall size of the plate and also the location of the centers of each hole. The way I want to start this is first I'd have to figure out, okay, well, what is my baseline? And by that we mean, what is the start point? We're going to assume that the bottom left-hand corner is the start point. That's where all the dimensions are going to be pulled from. So what I would do is initially I would just start with a linear dimension. Start it here as my first extension line. And what I'm doing and what I have to consider when I'm doing baseline dimensions is the fact that the shortest dimension needs to be first, then the next longest, then the next longest, so on and so forth until I reach the end. That doesn't necessarily mean the next item that I come to, it just means the shortest dimension. So we'll see how that plays out as we go through here. So from the bottom left hand corner, I'm going to go left to right horizontally first. So in this case, my first dimension would need to go from bottom left hand corner of the plate to the center of this hole. So that would be my next click as far as extension lines, and then I'd pull my dimension straight down. As far as where it's lined up, just use standard distances away from objects. Of course, that may depend on scale, so on and so forth, but that's not the focus of this. So I'm going to place my dimension right here. So that's my first dimension in that direction. And so now I want to continue all the way across. Now, there's a tool that's easily used for this, and you're not going to see it on this list from the Home tab, but if you go to the Annotate tab, find this tool right in the center where it says Continue. You can actually drop this down, and there's another option that says Baseline. And so what this does is we could do it all with linear dimensions, but this just makes it a lot easier. So since I already have one dimension that I've completed, if I just choose the Baseline tool, it'll pick up from where that dimension started. So it's using this first extension line as the baseline, or as the base point from which all my other dimensions are coming from. And so you can see this one's going to start way back here at this endpoint, and it's just asking me for the next extension line. Where do I want a dimension to? So in this case, I would go to this center point of this circle because it's the next feature that I want to dimension. And as soon as I left click on it, it'll place that dimension and then automatically start the next one from that same beginning point, that same origin point. And you can see it goes all the way back to that bottom left hand corner, and then just ask, hey, where's your next end point going to be? It's going to be right here. And so then I'd go all the way out to the end of this plate, and that would be the last dimension I want. And it'll continue to ask. So when you are finished, when you're complete, you just hit escape or right click, enter any of those keys, and it'll end the command. And so now I have a series of baseline dimensions. And again, the whole point is we're all starting from the same beginning point, which is this bottom left hand corner. So from here, this is 1.5. From here, this is 3.5, 6.5, and 8. And that's the whole point of a baseline dimension, that everything starts with the same origin. This was pretty simple because I just go to the next feature in line until I got to the end. The next one of the vertical portion of it is not as simple, because when I do my first linear dimension, I'd want to start from this same origin. But since I want my shortest dimension first, I wouldn't just go to this object, this same hole. I'd actually come way over here to this one, because this center point of this particular hole is closest to the bottom of the plate, going from bottom to top, the way we're viewing it. And so since this is my origin point, my point of beginning, I would want to come here for my first dimension, because when I click here for my second extension line, when I pull it, you can see that's going to be the shortest dimension vertically. So that's what I want. I want that one to be first. And so once I've created that first one, then I can go back, hit my baseline tool, and it'll pick up from that same origin, bottom left hand corner. And then I would hit the next one in line, which would be this one. Then I would hit the next one, and when I say the next one, I mean the next in dimensional height, in this case going vertically, and then I'd hit the end of the plate. Because again, I want the shortest dimension first. I don't want the extension lines going through the other dimensions. I want them to be stair-stepping like that. And you can see obviously my precision's not going to work here, so I would need to go into my dimension style, change my precision to where they worked a little bit better. And I still have a little bit of an issue here, so I would have to adjust a little bit if I wanted to do it either manually or if I wanted to use the adjust space tool, however I wanted to do it. But that is the whole point of a baseline dimension, and that is the baseline tool as far as automating the process. I want to look at one option inside of the baseline command under dimensioning tools. If I have two beginning dimensions already created, in other words, I have the first one vertical, the first one horizontal. If you have both of those, when you select the baseline tool, it's going to ask you to select a base dimension. So in other words, which one do I want to start from? Okay, so I would select this one, and it would pick up from there. Now, that's if they were already existing. Now, if I didn't have any, and I came in here, and I picked this one, and then I did this first one vertically, just went ahead and created them right here on the spot, and then I hit the baseline tool, it's automatically going to pick up from the last one that I did. Okay, so if I didn't want to do this one first, how would I change that? Well, you can see right there next to my cursor it says specify a second extension line, origin, or, and then I have the down arrow. And if you look down at the command line, I have two options, undo and select. So I can either pick them down here by clicking on them, or I can hit my down arrow and get those two options right here on the screen, undo or select. If I hit select, then it's going to ask me to select the base dimension. In other words, which one do I want to continue from? So if I didn't want to go from this one and I wanted to start with the 1.5, I would just use that option, select this dimension, and then it would pick up from there and go. So that's how you would switch which dimension you're actually wanting to refer to when you're doing the baseline, using the baseline command.